All right. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited for our 9th video today in the Summer 2020 series for the Lee County Ready for College initiative. So today's video is focused on scholarships and financial aid, such an important video. We will attempt to cover as much as possible, including specific scholarships in Lee County that you should know about. And we'll start with intros now. So Stephen, if you could start us off.
Yes. Hey everyone. My name is Steven Herrera Tenorio. You've seen me on many videos before. I attend Duke. I'm studying statistics, sociology, and German. And kind of what we're going to do with our intros, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to mention, every single scholarship that we got. So just write them down or bullet them like on notes. Pause the video if you need to. So I won the David M. Rubenstein Scholarship at Duke, the Goodnight Scholarship Program at NC State. I was a QuestBridge finalist, Univision 40 Nuestra Juventud scholar, and an NC Hispanic College Fund scholar.
Hey guys, I'm Sosa. I go to the Better Blue University, UNC Chapel Hill. I'm a psychology major on track to be your future physician. So to tell you about my scholarships that I got, so I got the People Helping People scholarship from the State Employees Credit Union, John McGinnis scholarship. I'm a McDonald's scholar at my university, a service scholarship. Stanford Women's League scholarship, Jeffrey D. Watson, SEANC, Lee County Farm Bureau, Bullock Scholarship, Kiwanis Club, Mike Rosser Scholarship, a couple of university grants, and then there's a lot more that I couldn't find because I didn't update the list as much as I thought, but it ended up being about 16. I know that for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. You guys are absolutely incredible examples for these students. So I am Laura Brummett. I am a business journalism major also at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And unlike these guys, I did not apply to a whole lot of local scholarships, but I do have several through the university and through my specific journalism school. I don't have the exact names written down at the moment, but if you are interested in those specific scholarships that I applied for at the journalism school at UNC, then reach out to me later.
Hi everyone, my name's Taylor. My cat is also joining me today right here. Her name's Hazel. I am a student at the University of Georgia, and I am studying neuroscience. And I applied to a lot of scholarships, including the ABC Scholarship, the Kevin Dunn Pay It Forward Scholarship. I won the Elks Club state level, the Kiwanis Club, Stanford Women's League. At my institution, I was a part of the honors program and received scholarship through that, and the Dr. Ruth O'Neill Scholarship through the science program.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. So just a quick disclaimer before we get into all the information that this video has to offer. The Lee County Ready for College initiative is established by college students that are not professionals in college advising, and we are merely providing support using our own perspectives and knowledge. So this is just our own personal experiences we're using to give advice here, not professional. So first off, we're going to look at merit-based full ride scholarships and nationally competitive scholarships. So Stephen, I know you have a lot of experience with this, so if you'll start us off there.
Yeah, so they're kind of two separate things, the merit-based full ride scholarship programs and then nationally competitive scholarships, which aren't necessarily merit-based like full scholarships, but they are worth like a lot, almost up to like $40,000 like per year, which for most schools like would cover the entire cost. So I guess the way that I learned about this, because it's very like this information is not necessarily publicly available. It's very, very particular to a certain group of students, like at Southern Lee or Lee Senior. I know when I was applying, I heard about the Moorhead Keynes Scholarship, the Park Scholarship, and I was like, what in the world is that? Like, I don't know anything about it. And you'll probably won't know anything about it unless you're endorsed. So they usually these scholarship programs endorse up to, I think, depending on the amount of students at your high school that are graduating that year. I know at Southern Lee it was 2 students, and I think I'm pretty sure I'm telling you, like, it's very private information. Like, no one talks about it like openly usually. But I know they nominated 2 students, and they were reserved for the students that were intending to be valedictorian and salutatorian. So not me, but I learned more about the program and how you could self-endorse yourself. Basically, if you look up Morehead Cain Scholarship or NC State Part Scholarship, you can self-nominate yourself if you do believe that, you know, you do qualify against like other students that are in these top positions that were endorsed by your high school. But generally, like, these programs are extremely competitive, and I'm only briefly mentioning them because, you know, the bulk of it will be focused more on FAFSA and like local scholarships. But if you are in this position, I would like, you know, you could just email me and we could talk more about the process and in general, like what it looks like for you if you are considering it. But in general, like, these like big scholarship programs are full rides. Like, they pay for everything. So definitely, if you do consider yourself in that kind of like demographic that is like 1, 2, 3, top 5, top 10, or whatever, definitely reach out to your guidance counselor because they are the ones that make these endorsements. Slash, they could have this conversation with you, you know, if they do believe it's worth investing some time and, you know, actually even considering to apply, because it's extremely competitive. The Morehead Cain Scholarship, for all those students that were endorsed, so think about it, like the top 2 students at almost every single high school in North Carolina, and that's an internationally competitive scholarship too. They consider students from across the world. They only accept 3% of those endorsed, which is crazy. Like, the chances of you getting it are very low, but it's not to say that it's impossible. Because we've in fact had students from Lee County come to become Morehead Cain scholars. Ricky Hurtado, if you want to look him up, he graduated from Lee Senior a couple years ago. And then the second half of this are these nationally competitive scholarships. So for me, I applied for this scholarship program called QuestBridge, and the application process was super early. So you have to be on top of everything if you do consider yourself to be one of those applicants, like usually in the top 10 or 5% in your class. Some of these scholarship programs do have rounds, so it's semifinalists, finalists, and then if you move on past that, then you actually get the scholarship. I'll name some of them. I definitely do not want to go into detail because I think the target audience that we're trying to reach are students not necessarily in the top 10%. But if you are, like, definitely reach out to, you know, me, and I could talk more about these things. So these programs are QuestBridge, Coca-Cola Scholars, Dell Scholars, Horatio Alger Scholars, Jack Kent Cooke Scholars, Elks National Foundation, and the G.E. Regan Scholars. And some of these programs, specifically the Elks National Foundation, you have to get endorsements from that as well, just like the Morehead Cain Scholarship. But those are a little bit more very particular and specific if you are registered under the National Foundation.
Awesome. Okay, so now that we've got that kind of picture of just an overview of those national and merit-based scholarships, can you tell us, Stephen, a little bit more about your personal experiences with these kind of scholarships?
Yeah, so I mean, my class rank was 3, and I generally knew I had high SAT, ACT scores, and felt, you know, relatively comfortable going into the college admissions process, but not to the point where I felt comfortable about these nationally, like, oh, full ride scholarships. And I didn't know anything about them going into, you know, my fall semester. So it was generally learning about this process, like with the guidance counselor, suddenly Miss Dial, and that back then the college advisor, Ms. Lazo. If you're at Southern Lee, it's Ms. Barrowset. So there are 2 like full ride, you know, I would call them hybrid merit-based scholarships because they're not fully merit-based. They do consider your financial status when making these decisions. Not one of them, but basically these 2 are the David M. Rubenstein Scholarship, which I got at Duke, and the Goodnight Scholarship, which I got at NC State. They're very 2 different scholarship programs, but they did cover full ride for me at both of these institutions. The NC State Goodnight Scholarship program is basically if you are good enough, they'll send you an invitation. They only send 800 invitations, which, you know, doesn't seem like a lot, or does seem like a lot, but in comparison to all the students in like North Carolina, which is the demographic they consider, it's, you know, relatively competitive. Basically, I had to go through a semifinalist and finalist round, and I had to go interview at NC State. they selected the top 100 applicants, and out of those 100 applicants, only 50 of us were going to get the scholarship. So it was very nerve-wracking, and it required a lot of interview like prep and everything. But definitely, if your family makes less than $110,000, then you do qualify. And if you have the SAT scores, the GPA, and all those things that they require, definitely check out their website. Just look up NC State Goodnight Scholarship Program. Yeah. And then the second thing was I received the David M. Rubenstein Scholarship at Duke, which is a full ride package and a lot more that I actually didn't apply to. So your university, depending on what they consider like scholarship programs, you might like want to look up, let's say for example, ECU. Just Google ECU like merit-based scholarship programs, or any university that you're considering, and basically they'll go into more detail on how you become one of those scholars. So for me, like when I first found out that I was accepted to Duke, and then I checked my financial aid package because I was like, okay, I got into Duke, but I don't know, it's expensive. It's like over 300,000 for all 4 years. So it's like, I definitely can't afford that. But then I checked my financial aid package and it said David M. Rubenstein Scholar. And that's when I was like, what is this? I have no idea what this is. I Google it, and it's a nationally competitive scholarship that pays for everything. And that's how I found out about it. Basically, when you submit your application to Duke, and they don't tell you yet, but then they know that you're accepted, then they put all the first gen low income students into a bin, and then they compare them, and then they decide, okay, which students, do we want to consider for this scholarship program? And yeah, I was selected with 40 something other students. But now the scholarship program has gotten super, super competitive. This past year for class of 2024, only 14 students were accepted, which is crazy. It used to be 48, but now it's 14 students. So yeah, but that's basically, the process that it was for me. And yeah.
Okay, hey guys, so sorry my Wi-Fi just cut out on me. No idea why, but anyways. So thanks, Stephen, for giving your personal experience there. And now, Sosa, if you will please walk us through the FAFSA and federal aid curriculum here. I know this is a really tough one, so like any help that you can give us, please send it.
All right, y'all, bear with me because I'm going to be honest with you. This thing is such a headache sometimes, but it's something that you have to do. And it is just the first step in helping getting your college funded. So FAFSA, as it's called, is the free application for federal student aid. The application process is very lengthy, can be really difficult, and really confusing, which honestly is a deterrent enough for people to not want to go through and apply. They do sometimes do their best with like telling you as you're filling it out, they'll have like little eye bubbles that will tell you like information on what line of tax information to find certain things that need to be filled out and where. But I promise you, sometimes you can still get lost. It's how the federal government determines how much money to give you based on your parents' income tax returns. So it doesn't apply to you necessarily if you are considered an independent student. That is a whole nother process that we're not going to talk about today. But feel free to reach out to us individually should you find yourself within that category, and one of us can like help you through that. You can also ask your college advisor for that process as well, not just us, to help you through that. So the application portal usually opens in October every year. And they tell you this, and listen to them, fill it out as soon as possible. And I will say it again because it's very important to fill it out as soon as possible, especially if you know that you are low income first gen. I know it's a really confusing process your first time doing it. It's more so that first time that you do it, that's hard. Every year after that, it's more about renewals, but you want to fill it out as quickly as possible, because there's a set amount of money that is allotted for it. The sooner you get it filled out, the more likely you are to get what you need from it. Don't be like me, who procrastinates as long as possible to fill out the FAFSA simply because I hate going to that website and everything like that. You just want to get it filled out so you can get everything that you need. You're going to be applying for this, like I said, every single year. So unfortunately, because I was one of the people who thought, this is a one and done, you apply for the FAFSA every year. So every year, even when you're in college, you have to be on top of it and know that, okay, it's time to do the FAFSA again. Luckily, once you're in your junior year, like the position I'm in right now, I just filled out the FAFSA for the last time ever. I'm very excited. But definitely fill it out as soon as possible. It opens in October. It will be blasted everywhere, even if you're like nowhere near high school. Your friends will even be telling you to like fill out your FAFSA, because when you're in college and you realize that money is tight, and you'll trust me, you'll experience that. You'll know it's time to fill out that FAFSA, because if you don't, then you have to worry not only about groceries, but you're also going to have to worry about, how am I going to pay for my room? How am I going to pay for my accommodations, everything? How am I going to pay for my tuition? So definitely get that filled out. So this is a process. You want to have the necessary forms from your parents. That's why it's very important that you get their tax information. I know a lot of times, like, this is also a weird period because you're handling tax information. So your financial situation actually like comes to your like knowledge during this period. So like for me, when I was going through like, applying for the FAFSA, like you're looking at the numbers of like your parents' income and everything. Sometimes that can actually like be a little bit, because it's like, wow, I didn't know that like this was our current situation, and like this, because you're young, like they're not going to tell you that this is how much they make. But when it's time to input those numbers, and sometimes there's not a comma where you thought there was going to be a comma, and that's hard to deal with sometimes, because realization sets in that like I need to get money in order to go to the university that I want to go to. So to continue on, some of the information that you're going to need: personal information, social security number, citizenship status, marital status, student dependency status, parents' income, your personal income information if you've worked. That is very important that you have. And then also know that these funds are distributed until June, until the funds run out, which is why we again emphasize October. Like October, be on top of it. Just get it out the way. It is the one step that every college student kind of just dreads, because it's annoying, but you do it. Also, there is another federal aid application, just to like slightly transition into that. Some schools, they require you to fill out another profile. It's called the CSS profile. At UNC, they require you to fill out this process regardless of citizenship status, grants and scholarships. And filling out this form also is able to have you considered for a laptop grant. So when I was applying to UNC, I had to do this, and that is how I got the laptop that I'm currently talking to you guys through. I was able to get the laptop grant when I was in college, and that is a big blessing. It might be different for other universities, but unlike the FAFSA, the application process for the CSS does require a fee. So that's a CSS, of course.
Yeah, so I actually got the same laptop grant and broke mine last summer at my job. So RIP to that. Don't be like me. Be careful with your laptop that UNC gives you if they do. But yeah, so everything she was saying is so true. Like she mentioned, the October, start there. And now that you've given us just like the overview, like Stephen did, let's dive into your personal experiences with scholarships.
Yeah, so applying to scholarships was a very funny time in my household. So I was in the IB program at Lee Senior. I was in the first cohort, the guinea pig cohort at Lee Senior. So I was finishing IB, applying to college, and then my mom was shoving a scholarship application in my face every 2 hours. but it all paid off. So my mom was at the forefront of my scholarship application process. When I tell you that she helped me apply for everything. Even if I just fit one part of the criteria, apply for everything. I've seen some recent information that said that men tend to apply to job applications if they only fit a small amount and just hope for the best, whereas women, we tend to see if we fit everything. And so now, so that we can start to break that, I'm telling everyone to apply to everything. Not only was my mom looking online, and I of course was looking online myself, but she also talked to people that she knew everywhere, church, work, school setting, everywhere. The college advisor at the time, her name was Zelia Lewis. She graduated from Duke. She was helping my mom and helping my family with finding scholarships and everything. So when we tell you college advisors are there to help you, it just takes reaching out to them. They will literally work. It was incredible seeing just scholarships that I didn't even know about that I was applying to so much. My biggest advice during my scholarship application process was having a couple essays on hand. Specifically, just have the big three: strengths, weaknesses, and your personal statement. You have, because those are typically questions that scholarships tend to ask: what's your greatest strength, greatest weakness, or personal experience type. You have those ready to go. It makes it easier to apply to scholarships, and you can get those applications out faster. I was also my big scholarships that I was up against that I didn't get. I was considered for the Moorhead Cane and the Park, which were full rides to UNC and NC State. So those were on my brain as well, making me very, very stressed, because I was thinking oh, I can do this, just get these one scholarships and have college paid off for. But actually it was local scholarships that helped get my first year of college paid off. And I will also emphasize this last point is, once you're in college, don't stop looking for scholarships, because with my experience, what got my college paid off was the scholarship I applied to after my sophomore year that ended up paying off my junior year and now my senior year. And that is a recurring scholarship that I applied to by chance. So even when you're in college, definitely be on the lookout for scholarships as well. But that was my personal experience. It was a crazy time in my household. I ended up applying to about 40 scholarships and I got 16 of them. So the more that you apply, the higher the chance that you have. Come that awards day, you'll be surprised. I remember specifically, I had to turn around twice on awards day because they kept calling my name. And that is the proudest moment that I have ever had up until graduation. But that was such a proud moment for me. But that is my advice to you guys. I hope it helps.
I love that. Yeah, it's such a good day, awards day. And
Did Laura freeze y'all?
Yes. So we're having technical difficulties.
Okay, so just wrapping back things up, basically, the things that you mentioned, Sosa, so important to reach out to your college advisor and, just make sure that you're on top of everything and always communicating and making sure, do I even know that the scholarship exists? Like, should I even apply for it? And I think what you brought up earlier about about women which are definitely overqualified, feeling like they feel underqualified for not applying for that certain scholarship. Just listening to the stories that my sister had to go through, it's so real. It's so real. Like for me, I know I was just like, I'll just apply. I'm not qualified. And it worked out for me. And I definitely think, the way that this is communicated, particularly towards women, is that like you're not gonna get it, It's like you have to fill out everything and you have to be better, blah blah blah, and all these things. But so important that we emphasize that just apply for it. You never know if you're gonna get it. Just if it doesn't work out, then don't worry about it. But yeah, Taylor, do you want to go ahead and move on? This last aspect is going to be super important about local and state scholarships, because like Sosa mentioned, these are the things that are going to help you in addition to FAFSA and CSS if you're a first generation low income student.
Yes, definitely. And again, this is a lot to take in. I will not be able to get through all the local and state scholarships, but hang in there. We'll cover what we can. And of course, I just want to reemphasize to talk with your guidance counselors or college advisors, because they have so much information and they want to give it to you. They're not hoarding it. They are ready to give you the information. And again, with COVID and everything going on, it may look a little bit different this year. So I'm going to try and talk from personal experience, but it may not be the same for you. So whenever I was applying for scholarships for college, I would always go into the guidance office at school, because they had a table and it literally just had stacks and stacks and stacks of scholarship applications. And I would look through the descriptions of every single one. And if I met one of the qualifications or all of them, if I could somehow be eligible to receive it, I picked up the application and I filled it out and I turned it in, because that was my best bet. So Sosa said she applied for like 40. I don't think I applied for that many, but I did apply for a lot of them. And a lot of them were local and state scholarships. But make sure you know the requirements or preferences for each scholarship and the difference between the two. So requirements is like, we're not budging on this. Like, you have to be this kind of student. But sometimes they'll just say, we show a preference towards this kind of student. And sometimes the preference is just based off, financial standing in your family. Or it could be your ethnicity. It could be the institution that you're going to, your intended major, extracurricular activities. But preferences don't mean that you will not get it. There were scholarships that I applied to, and I think one of those, like, preference is male and something else. And I was like, I'm not that, but I'm going to apply. And I got that scholarship. And a lot of times it's just because no one else applies for them. So like, oh, I don't fit it. I'm not going to apply. I won't get it. Apply, even if you don't think you will get it. That is 100% so true. And apply for every scholarship, no matter the amount, because scholarship money adds up. Even if it's $500, that can pay for textbooks, and textbooks are expensive. So scholarships can range from a couple $100s to, heck, $40,000. Who knows? But there's all kinds in betweens there. And make sure you kind of look into the guidelines for the payout. These may be harder to find, and you may not be able to really know exactly what they are at first. But you want to know, is this a one-time scholarship? Is this a scholarship that's going to be paid gradually over 4 years? Or is this recurring? So if you get a $10,000 scholarship, am I getting $10,000 every single year for 4 years? Or is it $10,000 over 4 years? Because that is a huge difference. So that is my main advice for applying to local and state scholarships, just looking into all the information that you can.
Yeah, that last bit, Taylor, is so important, of looking at the different payouts of scholarships and grants and that sort of thing. And sorry again, guys, my Wi-Fi cut out, but we're back. So now that we've kind of gone over that, will you follow in Stephen and Sosa's footsteps here and give your own personal experiences, especially with these local and state scholarships for like Lee County students?
Yes, of course. And like I said, there are a ton, but I'm going to touch on some of them. So I applied for the Lee County ABC Scholarship. And yes, that is like the ABC store. For this one, you have to complete the application. You have to write an essay explaining the facts and dangers surrounding the use and abuse of alcohol by minors. And you have to develop a plan of action for sharing the research project with classmates and or your school. If I remember correctly, you don't actually have to present on it. You just have to write it. And this scholarship, don't get me wrong, was a lot of work. But everyone that I knew that applied for it got it, because not everyone wanted to do all the work. And again, I know we've talked about some of the time frame with the scholarships, but a lot of these are due later than national scholarships. So you're looking into your second semester of high school, so late spring, but still start applying to them as soon as possible. You don't want to wait until last minute. I don't speak from experience. I'm a procrastinator, so don't do what I do. Definitely apply for them as soon as possible. Another one that Stephen kind of mentioned earlier is the Elks National Foundation, or Elks Club. There are different levels of the scholarship. So it's one of those ones like you get past some rounds, so you can win local or state level or national level. So I ended up being one of the top 500 finalists for nationals, which meant I got one of the state level scholarships. And it is important to know you don't have to be a member of the Elks Club to apply for the scholarship, because my family is not. So you can apply for that even if you are. The only requirement is that you are a current high school senior or equivalent, and citizen of the United States, but you do not have to be related to a member of the Elks Club or a member yourself. And then another one is the State Employees Credit Union People Helping People Scholarship. Sosa mentioned that she received the scholarship, which is amazing. It's like a $10,000 scholarship over 4 years. And I also received the scholarship, but did not go to a UNC public school system school, and you have to. So it's important to look into those requirements. I went to a private institution, so I was not able to receive that scholarship. But it's important to look at that kind of thing, and the GPA requirement. So that GPA requirement is only a 2.5 GPA or higher. So definitely look at that stuff too. A lot of high schools will also do like booster club scholarships. So if you're a student athlete, you can apply for those. I know Southern Lee did one. I'm not sure if Lee Senior does as well. And then Kiwanis Club, Stanford Civitan, Stanford Women's League, North Carolina Bankers Association. These are all just scholarships that you can apply to. And the Kevin Dunn Pay It Forward Scholarship is one that I received. And I'm pretty sure it was the first year they had given it out. If I remember correctly, Kevin Dunn passed away from ALS. And really loved giving back to people. And my passion is helping other people. So for that application, I just had to write an essay about how I pay it forward and what it means to me. So I was able to receive that scholarship. And again, this is not even touching the surface of all the scholarships. There are churches that give out scholarships, like Sosa mentioned. There are companies in Sanford and Lee County. Like if your parents work somewhere, see if they have scholarships specifically for employees, relatives, friends. Look into everything. So if you have a job, a part-time job, some of them, their corporate offices will even offer scholarships. I worked at Lowe's Foods, and they offered a scholarship. So definitely look into that kind of stuff. Ask your managers if you need to, if you're unsure. The most important piece of advice I can give you, though, like Sosa mentioned earlier, is to continue looking for scholarships even after you're in college, because there are still scholarships available to college students. And check out the other resources that your college has. So some specific schools and programs will offer scholarships or financial aid to their students. So one of the scholarships I received in my undergrad was from the science department. And I think it went to 6 females. They all got some money. Some extracurricular activities also on campus. If you're a student athlete, a lot of times you can get financial aid that way. Being a part of student government at my institution, I was able to get financial aid. So look into the different opportunities just at the institution that you're going to be attending. Also ask your financial aid office if there are any endowed scholarships available that you may qualify for. Now, endowed scholarships get a little more tricky. They're very, very specific sometimes, especially at private institutions. And that's the only familiarity I have with them, going to a private school. But they can be as specific as, this student has to be from Lee County and has to be an intended nursing major. No one else can receive this scholarship. And a lot of them are like that. And a lot of times you don't even apply for them. The financial aid office will just see if anyone is eligible, and they'll give it to someone who needs it the most. So definitely look into that, because they may have overlooked something. And although they are super specific, you may fit these qualifications. But I think that's all I have. I know it's a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much, Taylor. Like we've said before, some of those local scholarships are really what can set you over the edge. And just to round it out here, a couple more points about private versus public school scholarship opportunities. So I know that private schools sometimes offer even more scholarships than public schools tend to. So like I applied to a lot of out-of-state private schools and was a presidential scholar for one. And so that was like made it out-of-state tuition equivalent to what I would have paid in-state tuition. So there's a lot of opportunities like that to look out for if you're looking to go out-of-state. Private schools are a good road to go down there. And then Stephen, if you'll finish this out here with a couple more comments.
Yeah, or Sosa, did you have something quickly to say?
Yeah, just the last thing about awarding money. So there is a difference sometimes when you get your check in a scholarship, and there's, if the scholarship, I will say, like, if it's titled to your university, you have to report it and it'll go towards your financial aid package. Whereas if it's actually awarded to you, you can still report it, but also like that money is actually like yours. So like if the name on the check says University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, that money gets reported and they add it to your financial aid package. Whereas if that money is like says, you know, Sosie Bowman, that's your money that you can use towards like your college experience. So like when I get a John McKinnon scholarship, they've given it to me every year. I use it to pay for my textbooks, but that money comes directly to me in order for me to use for college. So that's like a difference that I learned while I was getting scholarships, is that depending on who the recipient is, depends on like your control of the money sometimes. So I don't want you to think like when you're getting a $10,000 scholarship, they're giving you $10,000 into your bank account. Most likely that money is going directly to the university for them to handle with your tuition and everything.
Yeah,
That was the last thing.
so important. I went for one of my scholarships, the NC Hispanic College Fund, like because I got the full ride at Duke, they were like, we can't take this. You have a full ride already. And so it was just, it's a good situation to be in. But luckily, I think they gave the scholarship to someone else, which was good. But the last thing I do want to mention, so we didn't go into detail about loans. That would probably take an entire other video to talk about. But just know that, you know, when you apply for your FAFSA, like some of those might be tied to loans. So definitely, once you get your financial aid like report from the school after you've applied and you send in all your outside scholarships and everything, to give you that final bill, please just check for those small minor details in case you do not want loans and that you want to pay them out of pocket. That might be a whole different conversation that you want to have with your parents, but you're just gonna have to be on top of it. And of course, we can't cover everything in this video. So please reach out to any of us if you need additional help, or if your college advisor, you know, might be particularly busy that week. We are here to help. We will be checking our emails during the weekends while we're still in school in the fall. So please reach out. And yeah, Laura, do you want to go ahead and close this off? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in and watching this video. We totally understand that this video went over topics with several deadlines, requirements, and opportunities. It was a lot, we know, but feel free to pause it, play it back, reach out to us with questions, leave a comment in this video, reach out to us. Our emails are on the website. And then later in this fall, we hope to streamline some of this information into helpful infographics for students that may still need additional help in visualizing what this process looks like, especially if you're first gen and low income. Additionally, you can always reach out to your college advisor, which we recommend doing as early as October, and that's when the FAFSA and federal aid opportunities are released. Like we've mentioned several times, do it in October. And this marks the last video for our high school application process. And next week, we'll start transitioning on advice for incoming first year students. So keep an eye out for that. Go watch our last few videos if you haven't already. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.